Ever imagine a future where like everybody's basic needs are just met, you know?
Uh-huh.
And progress actually benefits everyone, not just like a select few.
Right.
And local communities like genuinely have power.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly the kind of world we're going to explore today.
Cool.
We're diving deep into something called the progressive utilization theory, or Prout for short.
Okay.
And it's not just some abstract theory, it's a full-blown socio-economic-political system. It's a vision, like a real roadmap for how we could create a more, well, a progressive, futuristic, and optimistic future.
I like it already.
Yeah, so think of this deep dive as our chance to like unpack the core ideas of Prout to see how it all fits together. We're going to be looking at a text that outlines the principles and goals of Prout.
Gotcha.
And kind of figuring out, you know, what makes it tick. We'll see what it has to say about power, about morality, and about its vision for both individual and collective progress.
Okay.
So to kick things off, the text starts by talking about these three powers in society.
The three powers.
Yeah, so what are those and why are they so important in Prout?
Well, it's recognizing that in any society, you've got these three main forces at play.
Okay.
There's economic power, so who controls the resources, right?
Right.
Political power, so who gets to make the decisions.
Yeah.
And then cultural power, so like what shapes our values and beliefs and all that.
Interesting.
And Prout raises this really crucial point. When economic and political power get too concentrated, too intertwined, you know,
Yeah.
it can lead to tyranny. It's like a recipe for oppression if the people with the money also control the laws.
Oh, yeah, we've seen that happen throughout history, right?
Yeah.
When power gets too concentrated in the hands of a few, things can go south pretty quickly.
Exactly.
So what does Prout suggest we do about it? Like, how do we safeguard against this kind of power imbalance?
Well, I think it's important to keep in mind this bigger picture of Prout's vision,
Right.
which is ultimately a very optimistic one.
Yeah.
And it really boils down to this, making sure that progress for some doesn't come at the expense of others.
Okay.
And the key to achieving that balance, the text emphasizes, is morality.
Morality.
A strong ethical foundation.
I see.
Because without that, even the best systems can be corrupted, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It even mentions this really profound psychological principle, which is that every living being equally values its own existence.
Right.
Like we all want to live and thrive. And that inherent empathy, that understanding, that's a cornerstone of Prout's moral framework.
Interesting. So morality is the foundation. Yeah. Now let's get into the nuts and bolts of how Prout actually proposes we structure society. I understand there's a pretty clear separation between politics and economics in Prout.
That's right. Prout talks about economic democracy.
Economic democracy.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because politically there is a degree of centralization.
Centralization.
Yeah, but it's tied to a very specific type of leadership.
Okay.
Power is supposed to be vested in individuals the text calls moralists.
Moralists. And we'll get into who exactly these sadvipras are in a bit. But for now, just think of them as people with a strong ethical compass.
Gotcha. So we've got these ethical leaders at the helm, politically speaking. But economically, it sounds like Prout advocates for the opposite, more local control.
You got it. Economically, Prout envisions this radical decentralization.
Decentralization.
With real power residing in the hands of local people.
Local people.
Yeah. The idea is that economic planning should be a local affair too.
Okay.
So decisions about the economy of a region should be made by the people who actually live and work there.
Right. Not by some far-off, distant authority who doesn't really have a stake in the community.
Exactly. And not just economic ties, but cultural, even emotional connections to the place.
That makes a lot of sense. But how do you define who's a local person in this context?
Good question. Prout's pretty specific about that.
Okay.
A local person is someone whose fundamental economic interests are truly aligned with the long-term prosperity of that region. Their success is directly tied to the success of the local community.
I like that. So their fate is intertwined with the fate of the community, so to speak.
Precisely.
Now let's imagine this in action.
Right.
What kind of positive changes could we expect to see if local communities had this level of economic power?
Well, the hope is that it would lead to stronger local economies,
Right.
more vibrant societies.
Uh-huh.
And because people are living directly with the consequences of their choices, there's a built-in incentive for greater environmental responsibility.
Oh, that's a great point, because if you harm your local environment, you're directly harming yourself and your community.
Right.
So it's like this natural feedback loop encouraging sustainable practices. And This whole vision feels incredibly forward-thinking, especially when you consider how modern technology could actually support this kind of decentralized living and planning.
Absolutely. And the text even touches on this.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Huh.
It points out how the internet has already enabled remote work for so many people. And it suggests that future advancements in science and technology are going to be crucial in making this more localized way of life, this decentralized planning, even more viable on a larger scale.
That's really exciting to think about. Okay, so we've got this vision of decentralized economic power, but it's guided by a centralized commitment to morality.
Right.
Let's dive into that moral foundation a bit more. The text talks about Yama and Niyama as these, 10 commandments of Prout.
Yeah, they're pretty fundamental.
Okay.
In Prout, morality isn't just some vague concept. It's actually concretely defined through these things called cardinal human values or principles, Yama and Niyama. Think of them as these essential ethical guidelines for how we should conduct ourselves and how society should function.
I see.
And yeah, they are presented as 10 core principles, like you said, 10 commandments.
Interesting. And it's by living by these principles that someone qualifies as a Sadvipra, right? These spiritual revolutionaries working for positive change.
Exactly. Sadvipras are individuals who are deeply committed to these ethical principles, and they actively work to bring about progressive change.
Okay.
In all spheres of life, physical, mental, and spiritual. Their actions are rooted in these principles of Yama and Niyama.
Gotcha. All right, let's break down these foundational principles, starting with Yama. The first one is ahimsa, nonviolence.
Right.
But it's not just about physical harm, is it?
No, it goes deeper than that.
Okay.
In Prout, ahimsa is about refraining from causing suffering to any harmless living being. Not just through our actions, but also through our thoughts and our words.
So it's about cultivating a deep sense of harmlessness.
Exactly.
Okay, the next one is satya, truthfulness.
Yes.
And the text adds a really interesting element to this.
It does. It's not just about stating facts.
Okay.
Satya is about speaking and acting truthfully with the genuine intention of benefiting others. And the text is clear that this isn't a relative principle. It's an absolute commitment to truthfulness.
An absolute commitment.
Yeah, for the greater good.
I see. Then we have asteya, non-stealing. And again, it goes beyond just the physical act of taking something, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Asteya in Prout extends to the realm of the mind.
Okay.
It's about letting go of even the desire to possess what isn't rightfully ours. Because ultimately, all actions originate in our thoughts.
Right.
So we have to address these underlying desires as well.
So it's about purifying our intentions, not just our actions.
Exactly.
Okay, the fourth principle of Yama is aparigraha, non-acceptance of superfluous comforts.
Right.
So what does that look like in practice?
Aparigraha is about consciously choosing not to accumulate excessive luxuries or comforts beyond what we truly need for basic well-being. It's a principle that encourages a more mindful, less materialistic way of life.
A simpler life in a way.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay. And finally, for Yama, we have brahmacharya.
Yes.
This one sounds a bit more abstract.
It is. Brahmacharya, in this context, is described as experiencing the presence and authority of the divine in everything.
Wow.
In every physical and psychic object. You can think of it as achieving a state of mind where our individual consciousness is in harmony with the universal will.
That's deep.
It is. Recognizing this deep interconnectedness of all existence.
All right, those are the 5 principles of Yama. Let's move on to the 5 rules of Niyama. The first one is shaucha, purity.
Okay.
And this applies to both our physical and mental states.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Shaucha encompasses both physical hygiene, keeping our bodies clean,
Right.
and just as importantly, mental purity.
Mental purity.
Yeah, and the text specifically mentions that mental purity is cultivated through good deeds, acts of charity, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Actively nurturing positive thoughts and behaviors.
So it's about cleansing our minds as well as our bodies.
Precisely.
Next, we have santosa, contentment. It's not about being complacent, though, right?
No, not at all. Santosa is about accepting the results of our honest efforts without complaint.
I see.
It's about finding inner peace and satisfaction in our work, regardless of the immediate outcomes.
So it's about focusing on the process and the effort, not just the results.
Exactly.
Okay, then we have tapa, effort.
Right.
This one sounds like it's about perseverance and inner strength.
It is.
Okay.
Tapit is about staying committed to our goals, even when we face challenges, even when it's difficult. It embodies that inner discipline and determination.
So it's about pushing through those tough times and not giving up.
Yeah, exactly. Never giving up.
Okay. The fourth rule of Niyama is svadhyaya, study of scriptures and learning.
Okay.
So it's about continuous intellectual and spiritual growth.
Yeah, you could say that. It's about actively engaging with knowledge,
Good.
especially scriptural texts and other sources of wisdom. And it's not just about reading them passively. It's about really absorbing their essence, their meaning.
So it's about going deep, not just skimming the surface.
Exactly. Deep diving into knowledge.
I like that. And finally, we have Ishvara Pranitana, surrender to the divine.
Okay.
The text describes it as this like auto-suggestion of being an instrument of a higher power.
It is.
Okay.
Ishvara Pranitana is about cultivating this deep faith that we're all part of something larger than ourselves, that we're instruments of this ultimate reality. You know?
Yeah.
It involves having complete trust, whether we're experiencing joy or sorrow, success or hardship.
Okay, so these 10 principles, Yama and Niyama, they form the very foundation of morality in Prout.
Right.
And it's those who embody these qualities, the Sedbipras, who have a vital role to play in guiding society. That's what's really inspiring, actually, this emphasis on morality. I don't see that a lot in modern socioeconomic theories. Okay, shifting gears a bit. The text also talks about humans as psycho-sentimental beings and how that understanding shapes Prout's vision of progress.
This is a key insight in Prout.
It's recognizing that we're not just rational beings, we're also deeply emotional and sentimental.
Right.
And Prout says that as individuals evolve, they naturally develop a greater sense of empathy and compassion. For all creation, actually.
For everyone and everything.
Yeah. And Prout's ultimate goal is to unlock progress for every individual.
Okay.
Which then elevates the collective.
Makes sense. So how does Prout actually define true human progress?
Well, it's not just about material wealth.
Okay.
True progress, according to Prout, is achieved when people are liberated from the struggle for basic survival.
I see.
When they're free to pursue higher things.
Like what kind of things?
Intellectual exploration, creativity, spiritual growth.
Okay.
Both individually and collectively.
So it's about creating the conditions where everyone can thrive, not just survive.
Exactly.
And the text makes an interesting point about the struggle for existence.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Prout views that in a unique way.
How so?
It doesn't see it as an individual burden where everyone's on their own, you know?
Right.
Instead, it views it as a collective responsibility.
A responsibility of society.
Yeah, to ensure that everyone's needs are met.
Interesting. So it's a shift in perspective from individual struggle to collective support.
Exactly. Okay, so how does Prout propose we actually achieve this state of widespread well-being? The text mentions these three pillars.
The three pillars.
Asti, body, and anandam.
Yeah, those are important.
What are those all about?
Well, they represent Prout's holistic approach to human flourishing.
Okay.
So Asti is about ensuring existence.
Ensuring existence.
Yeah, guaranteeing the basic necessities of life for everyone.
Like food, clothing, shelter.
Yeah, all that, plus education, medical care, energy, clean water.
So making sure everyone's fundamental needs are met, that's the foundation.
Exactly. That's the first step.
Okay, what's next?
Then comes bhakti, which is the expansion of the mind.
Expansion of the mind.
Yeah, it's about education that broadens our perspectives. That helps us move beyond self-centeredness towards what Prout calls Samasamaj Tattva.
Samasamaj Tattva.
Yeah, it's basically a deep love and understanding for all creation, recognizing the inherent value in every being. It's about fostering empathy and a sense of interconnectedness.
So it's about expanding our circle of concern beyond just ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay, and the final pillar, anandam, infinite happiness. That sounds pretty amazing.
It is.
What's that all about?
Anandam represents a state of blissful consciousness, pure fulfillment.
Wow.
And what's really cool is that Prout emphasizes that this spiritual dimension is accessible to everyone,
Okay.
not just the wealthy or privileged.
I like that.
It's a form of positive growth, non-competitive growth, where one person's spiritual progress actually benefits everyone.
So it's like this upward spiral of collective well-being.
Yeah, you could say that. It's about tapping into a deeper sense of joy and purpose.
Okay, so we've got these three pillars addressing our physical, intellectual, emotional, even spiritual needs. Now, let's zoom out and look at the big picture. What kind of future does Prout envision for the world? The text mentions 100% employment and a world beyond capitalism.
Yeah, those are some of its big goals.
Okay.
Prout envisions a world with 100% employment for all local people.
100% employment.
Yeah. The idea is that everyone has a right to the basic necessities.
Food, clothing, shelter.
I love that.
And that this right should be guaranteed through meaningful work, not through welfare or handouts.
Right. Unemployment is seen as a problem to be solved, not just accepted.
So it's about empowering people, not just providing for them.
Exactly.
And it doesn't stop there, right? Prout also aims for continuously increasing purchasing power and an ever-improving standard of living.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about meeting basic needs, it's about continuously raising the bar for everyone.
Right. The goal is to ensure everyone not only survives, but thrives.
I like that.
And to constantly improve the quality of life for all. Increasing purchasing power is a key indicator of that progress.
Okay, and what about the social structure? What kind of society does Prout envision?
Prout envisions a society that is truly equitable,
Equitable.
free from caste systems and dogmas,
Hmm.
and it embraces a scientific temperament.
Scientific temperament.
Yeah, encouraging critical thinking, innovation, evidence-based decision-making.
Well-
And at its core is the principle of equitable distribution of wealth, making sure that the fruits of progress are shared by everyone.
Wow, it's a really compelling vision. Decentralized power, empowering local communities, a strong moral compass guiding our progress, guaranteed basic needs through meaningful work, a focus on collective well-being, and this incredible potential for individual and spiritual growth. It really is progressive, futuristic, and so optimistic.
It is, isn't it? What aspects of this vision resonate most with you?
For me, it's the holistic nature of it all. It doesn't just focus on one aspect of society, it weaves everything together.
Yeah, I see that.
The economics, the politics, the ethics, the human element, it's all interconnected.
Right.
It feels like a system designed not just for material prosperity, but for genuine human flourishing.
That's beautifully put. Now, for everyone listening, how does this vision resonate with you? Does this idea of a socio-economic political system rooted in morality, focused on the well-being of all, does it spark something in you?
Exactly. If this vision of a progressive and prosperous future speaks to you, if you're intrigued by the potential of Prout, then we encourage you to explore it further.
We've only scratched the surface today. To truly understand its nuances and its potential, you need to dive deeper.
So here's our call to action.
Yeah.
Join a Prout study circle.
Yeah, Prout Study Circle.
These are groups where people come together to learn about Prout, to discuss it, to figure out how to apply these ideas in their own lives and communities.
It's a great way to connect with like-minded individuals
Exactly.
who are passionate about creating a better world. The ideas we've explored today offer a powerful and optimistic path forward.
They do.
A path towards a more equitable, just, and fulfilling future for everyone.
And that journey begins with each of us.
With each of us exploring these ideas
Connecting with others.
and working together to build that future.
A future where everyone can thrive.